when it's me, Jay, I use he, him, and
Wait, what was that? That was a little.
Don't
There
worry
was a
about it
little.
anyway. Air.
No, you have to dictate the fine print. If you don't, listen, Jay. Our viewership needs to accept you in all of your many layers, and I won't stand for it. I'm Air. I use he, him as well. And this is Jay on Air.
Honestly, I was thinking about Drawl Steel again. I was thinking about it. I was like,
Drawl Steel is very good. Yeah, Drawl Steel is pretty solid. I mean, this is Jay on Air : space.
Yeah.
Drawl Steel.
Exactly. Yeah. This is our Draw Steel sub-series. We're currently still Draw Steel obsessed right now. So but we're not limited to Draw Steel. We could talk about anything. We could if we wanted to. I could quit anytime.
I could stop. I don't need to draw any steel.
Okay, so today we're talking about entry point, like making a character, like getting started in Draw Steel. What's the like process, right? And so for that we have opened up the hero builder in Forge Steel, which is a incredible free public resource maintained by the community, which is a character builder like you might have in D&D. You might have D&D Beyond. Forge Steel is the D&D Beyond of Draw Steel.
Yeah, so when I first started looking into building characters, I think, as I had mentioned in some of our other episodes, a little bit overwhelmed by all the options. So my immediate thought was, how do I build to draw a parallel to ye old 5e? How do I build a champion fighter? What is the minimum viable character I can put together? What's a simple character where I know what my action economy is going to consist in, kind of round over round, and I'm going to build to do one thing, and I'm going to do the thing that I think most new players want to do in any new system, which is a whole crap ton of damage. Maybe I'm wrong in that assumption, but that's what we're going to go with today. So we're going to look at the shadow. Now, I've seen a lot of videos online that talk about like the vibe of each class, maybe even go to a few abilities, but we're going to dive a little bit deeper, and we're actually going to build out a shadow today. So I'm going to select that as my class. We're just going to stick to level 1 right now. Your stat spread, one of the interesting things in Draw Steel is you don't really get to assign your stats willy-nilly however you want, which is, some people might buck against that. But it does mean that you're not going to, create a shadow that can't hit the broadside of a barn with a dagger or a bow or whatever. Shadow is kind of their rogue sort of archetype, their sneaky, assassin-y, shadowy character. So you always start with a 2 agility, and the other stats you can assign based on, a standard array. What do we want to do here, Jay? How do we want to build our shadow?
I mean, we'll keep it simple. We'll just go with a 1-1-1-0. 3 1s and a 0.
All right, so we have one super awesome score.
I'll put those in, let's see. Oh, I'll put those in the first selection. So 1 2 1 1 0. So 0 presence.
So 0 presence. So yes, might, which is like your strength and constitution; agility, which is like your dexterity; reason, which is like your wisdom, which is like your intelligence in D&D terms; intuition, which is like wisdom; and presence, which is like charisma. So we are not exactly the most charming shadow.
No.
I am going to go with the College of Caustic Alchemy here.
Okay.
Reason being, I think it gives you a nice suite of options that are discrete. It's not like it's giving you a bunch of different choices that all rely on the same kind of part of your action economy. It gives a nice wide variety of things that you can use while you're playing.
So the College of Caustic Alchemy is basically just like going to be all about potions and bombs and acid.
Yeah.
Black Ash is your Misty Step focused shadow. They can teleport around the battlefield. And then
Mhm.
Harlequin Mask has disguise self basically as a cantrip. They can disguise themselves all the time, or even like take on the appearance of enemies, and sow a lot of confusion in the battlefield. Honestly, Harlequin Mask might be more bard than the Troubadour. That's my hot take. But yeah,
Yeah,
so
no, that's
toss it over to
fair.
me. Okay.
Um, the abilities that they're going to give you, there are three that you get from the subclass, and basically they will be your three go-tos for the action economy they cover. Coat the Blade lets you put poison on your weapons for all of your various attacking abilities. It's probably going to be your go-to maneuver round over round. Defensive roll is likely going to be your default triggered action. This allows you to take half damage and then shift up to 2 squares. And if you end up behind concealment or cover, you get to just hide for free, which is a nice defensive thing. You take less damage and you make yourself less likely to get hit again. So it behooves you to try to strategically keep yourself near cover at any point when you're ending your turn, so you have this triggered action to defend yourself with later. And Smoke Bomb, which is a neat feature that lets you hide even if people can see you. You throw down a smoke bomb, and then you can move a certain number of squares. And again, if you end up in concealment or cover, you're automatically hidden. So it's very much like the Batman move.
I can also say that the Smoke Bomb has the dubious honor of being the ability that first indicated to me that Air was fully in on this game because it made him go join the Discord for Draw Steel and ask like
I
rule
wanted to know
clarifying
if these two
questions.
interacted. Yes.
So this was my first hint that Air was like, "Oh, Air's really got it bad."
I do. I do. Yeah. If I've joined a Discord, like
Mhm,
I do not allow myself any more than
mhm.
5 Discords at any one time. So if I've joined your Discord, you are an elite club, let me tell you. So where I would be going is between one of three choices. Cloak and Dagger is your classic. What I really like about the three options I'm going to show is they give you a little bit of everything. You get a little bit of melee damage, not as much as a more melee focused character, but you also get a little bit of range damage, not as much as a fully, ranged focused character. You get a little bit of an increase to the range you can attack from, a little bit of speed, a little bit of stamina, a little bit of disengage. And what's always fun about kits is they give you a custom signature ability. These are like your at-will abilities, to use kind of the 4E terminology. This one, I actually wish I had it in our last one shot. I had an ability that let me attack twice, and we only had one big bad that we were fighting
No.
that had incredible movement and just kept jumping on top of me. So this ability lets you do some damage and then shift away for free. Shift being moving that doesn't trigger opportunity attack. So
Mhm.
I really wanted this in that fight. The other options I would kind of look at that are very nice, kind of cover the spread and give you an interesting ability, are yes, the Raider. Again, pretty much the same bonuses, a little more stamina. Um,
Okay.
and they gives you an ability that lets the next power roll of the target you hit have a bane, so you can kind of make it harder for
Mhm.
the creature you're attacking to attack back. Or Ranger, which again gives actually the exact same bonuses as the Raider,
Mhm.
but it gives you hamstring shot, which lets you do a range slow attack. So that's what I'm thinking. This way, you have consistent damage values. There are some stranger abilities, like if we go up and look at Panther, you can see that like they only get a melee damage bonus, and it's plus nothing, plus nothing, +4, which means
Yeah.
they want absolutely to get a tier 3 success because that's the
Mhm.
only time they get a damage bonus only on melee.
And
So for
Shadow's kind
basic
of
characters,
always wanting tier 3 successes anyway because they're wanting edges to get their abilities at a discount because they have a very unique class resource where they get 2 points per round where other classes can maybe get more, but they get a discount on any heroic resource cost of 1 if they have an edge on the ability. So
Mhm,
they get
mhm, mhm,
fewer resources and they have fewer triggers to get their resource, but they get a discount on their abilities. So their
mhm,
4 cost is
mhm,
their 5 cost is a 4 cost, and their 3 cost is a 2 cost. So it actually ends
mhm.
up being that they have a lot of heroic resources in actuality. So which one are we picking
And
here?
I'm just going to go with the classic cloak and dagger if we're building a rogue type character
Feels a
that the
little
shadow is.
redundant with smoke bomb, don't you think?
Not necessarily, because smoke bomb you can only really use if
Mm-hmm.
you use your maneuver to take the hide action. That's what it works with.
Okay,
But
okay.
we're going to be primarily using coat the blade to get a little extra damage by getting surges, which we can talk about. All right, signature ability. So this is, you get one from your kit, which we've picked cloak and dagger. Signature ability, these are the class specific ones, and they all center around getting surges. So basically, they all have some sort of qualifier that allows you to gain a surge or an ally to gain a surge depending on specifics of what's going on in the battle. So you have things like gasping in pain. One ally of your choice within 5 squares of the target gains 1 surge. So if you have a party where you think it would be more beneficial for someone other than you to have a surge, surges are a kind of a meta currency spread across the whole game that let you increase your damage or increase the potency of your abilities that apply effects. You could go for that one. I work better alone is if the target has none of your allies adjacent to them, you gain 1 surge before making the power roll, which means you can juice this very attack that's giving you this resource.
Mm-hmm.
So the thinking there is kind of, well, do I have a lot of melee, martial melee characters, folks that are going to want to be up close and personal with the baddies? Because if I do, maybe this isn't a great option for me. I might be better served by teamwork has its place, which is the antithesis. If an ally is adjacent to the target, you gain 1 surge before making the power roll. So if I do have somebody who's going to make sure they're up and close to my targets, I definitely want to take this one over this one. And then finally, we have You Were Watching the Wrong One, which kind of leans into that Harlequin mask theme. As long as you have 1 or more allies within 5 squares of the target, you gain 1 surge. If you're flanking with the target, when you use this ability, you can choose 1 ally flanking with you. That ally also gains a surge. So this one rewards kind of teamwork. If I know I'm going to have someone in melee with my target along with me, this would be the one I want to go for. So this is where, like, while this isn't a build game, things like party composition
Mm-hmm.
should inform the choices that you're making when you're building your character.
What I really like about this one and Teamwork Has Its Place is at first you almost think like, oh, well, You Were Watching the Wrong One is just strictly better because it has that secondary effect that gives another surge to an ally. But if you actually read the abilities more in depth, you see, well, first of all, Teamwork Has Its Place does a little more damage, but Teamwork Has Its Place
Mm-hmm.
also is a range 10 ability, meaning that
Mm-hmm.
you have more flexibility in how you use that one. So there's actually basically all these abilities are going to be fairly well balanced, which I really love about this game. So which one are you thinking for
Yeah.
this character?
I don't know my party composition, but I do really like the idea of if we work together in melee, we can, both get a surge. So I'm going to go with You Were Watching the Wrong One, kind of use my ally as a distraction while I stab you in the back. And then let's talk about our heroic abilities. These are the ones that cost you heroic resource. When you start out at level 1, you have a 3-point and a 5-point. There's a whole bunch of fun options here that allow you to do any number of things. Sliding the target is like a push, but it doesn't have to be in a straight line. You can move them around the battlefield depending on how well you roll, further and further in, weird and awkward curving, shapes.
Yeah.
A bleed effect, which is very good in this game. Bleeding is incredibly detrimental in draw steel. We've had sessions in like the one shots we've played where a character is bleeding and like they don't even want to take their turn because anything they think to do that's going to leave them bleeding out. Get out gives you a shift of 7 squares, which is massive. So you can get it, be that kind of skirmisher type character where you get in, hit hard, and run away.
Mm-hmm.
2 throats at once, a cleave, hit 2 creatures. So again, a bunch of really awesome options that I think are well balanced against each other. And thinking process for me is really like, what do I need more of here? Right now, my signature abilities give me good options for doing single target damage. Maybe I want to lean into a multi target damage ability. Because I took Cloak and Dagger, I already have a signature ability that lets me shift a little bit to get away from baddies. So maybe get out is less useful to me. A bleed might be good if, again, I want to focus on one target and really fuck up their day.
Mhm.
And, the power of a forced movement in draw steel cannot be underestimated. We've seen people like slam minions into a wall and just turn them to paste. So, you know, this is not the kind of thing you might necessarily know a whole bunch about going into any given campaign. But if you do know your DM and how they tend to run things, if you know you're going to be dealing with a whole bunch of baddies, maybe two throats at once is good. What do you think, Jay? What about these abilities gets you excited?
I think honestly, it's got to be Eviscerate. I just think the really high damage, combined with the fact that you get the bleeding effect, is just going to make it really feel worthwhile to drop 3 points on it. Not to mention, it's also a ranged ability, and I don't think we've picked a ranged option yet, so it could be really good to have in our arsenal.
Absolutely. Let's pop it in there.
Great.
And then you get a 5 point ability. So this is your big spend at level 1. And for a decent number of levels after level 1 as well. Most of the things you're going to be doing in the early levels cost 5 max.
Hmm.
We have coup de grace, which is again ranged or melee, and it is your big I want to drop all the damage I can. There are actually very few abilities in draw steel where you actually roll for damage. This is one of them, on top of an absolutely ungodly modifier. For five
Yeah.
points, this is disgusting.
Uh,
I actually remember, I think the first one shot we played, somebody used this, and your entire expression and tone of voice just changed. You were like, "I'm sorry, what number now?"
yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. If you see that tier 3, it says plus 19. Excuse me? Excuse me? Yeah, it's enormous. It is a unreasonable amount of damage in this game. Um
It is.
yeah.
It's almost the fireball of draw steel. It is. It
Mhm,
seems to be purposefully out of whack to just reinforce how fucking good, how deadly it's supposed to be.
mhm. I think there's another one here that does kind of get a little close, which is setup. Which does 9, 12, and 16 damage, which is still really, really high, and it inflicts weakness 5 on the enemy. Which means that all your allies are just getting a free plus 5 damage on top of all their attacks. So that one's also pretty devastating, especially if you have a lot of DPS party members who can really capitalize on it. Because if you can get 4 people to proc that this turn, that's another 20 points of free damage, which is
Mhm.
good.
And so if we go that route, we're really leaning into kind of a debuffer. Like you're
Mhm.
still, a skirmisher, still a marshal. You're still hitting with arrows and daggers and whatnot, all that classic rogue shit. But with this setup, you're now looking at creating a character that's really looking to debilitate one enemy big time. I went with setup based on your suggestion there.
Okay.
But there really are no bad options, as we've said
Mhm.
before. But I think what I kind of want to say is you can focus, like we kind of have here. We've got more of a disabler,
Mhm.
single target, or you can spread out for breadth as well.
Mhm.
We could in that 5 point ability, if we decide we want something for dealing with multiple targets, we could go for 100 throats, which allows you to shift around, hitting multiple enemies through all the spaces you move, up to 3.
And if you're
So
really struggling, generally speaking, I would say the places where people can easily get overwhelmed are things like the kits. And I would say with
Mhm,
the kits,
mhm.
the easiest thing to do is to just ignore everything in the kit except for the ability. Pick the ability that speaks to you, because the rest of it, like, you'll master all that stuff as you acquire system mastery. You'll understand more of what each of those little things is giving you in time. But the main thing you're going to be interacting with in most sessions is the ability. And so picking an ability that speaks to you is probably a little bit easier than like trying to read everything. And you can kind of let character choices inform these decisions too. Like if your character is a loner archetype, then I work better alone will naturally suit your character more
Yep.
than the teamwork one. And then maybe as part of their arc, they can pick the teamwork one later as a sign of growth. You know, we love growth. But yeah, so I think that I think my main takeaway for this is that like all these choices, you know, it's a lot of abilities up front, but once you've made your decisions, the number of abilities you have is no different than a 5e character, really. Like a level 5 5e character and a level 1 draw steel character are going to have about the same number of features on the page. And so it really seems more overwhelming than it is, and it can be kind of overwhelming if you just get deep in the weeds on every single ability and over focus on what you're trying to pick. You can just kind of trust the game to work here, and I think that's one thing that like D&D kind of builds as a bad habit is you do have to be careful what you pick in D&D because there are actually some pretty crap options in D&D. There are bad subclasses and there are bad spells that are just going to leave you worse for wear. Here, you can kind of relax. Everything's going to be fine. Everything you pick is going to work and you're going to be happy to play with it.
And because we're trying to give folks, a basic character to start with, I'm going to say everything else dealer's choice. Pick the ancestry you want, the one that makes sense to you. Your culture, I'm trying to remember what they call them, the ancestry, the culture, and the career. Culture and career tend to be mostly features, which in Draw Steel tend to be more role play things. They're not exactly combat throughput, but Draw Steel is very much a tactical, combat focused game. Not that it doesn't have role play stuff, it certainly does, but I think that's where people are maybe going to be the most anxious about like being able to play their character correctly. So your class is primarily defining what that is. So let's take a look quickly at the shadow we've made. Forged Steel is really great because it does things like it lists out all of your various abilities by the type of action that they require. So for your main, if you don't have any points, you're either using Fade, which is the thing we got from Cloak and Dagger to do some damage and slip away, or you're watching the Run one where you can team up with an ally if they happen to be near to your target to give you both a surge. If you start having points, you can drop them into Eviscerate or Setup, depending on what particular debuff you want to drop on the biggest threat in the battle.
Mm-hmm.
Maneuvers, you're primarily using Coat the Blade, which gives you even more surges that help you amp your damage or get off these effects because they can also increase your potencies. And then triggers, defensive roll is going to be your go-to. And then the one that we haven't talked about, which all shadows get, and I think is Jay's maybe favorite ability in the game.
It is absolutely my favorite ability in the game. Hesitation is weakness. Oh man, I love this ability. The ability to just say, no, DM, actually it's my turn right now. I'm doing something cool. Like an enemy is like on their last leg. They're about to topple over. It's going to their initiative. You spend one of your heroic resource and you say, hesitation is weakness. You use your reaction to interject yourself in the turn order. And now you use a free triggered action, which is not your reaction actually. So
you can see the free right here.
Action to interject yourself into the turn order and take your turn right away before that person gets their turn. Now, since this game always has hero, enemy, hero, enemy, hero, enemy, the ability to go 2 heroes in a row is powerful. And the ability to interject yourself right in the most advantageous time for your team is also powerful. We've seen this in multiple of our one-shots by now, where right before a badly damaged minion squad is about to take their turn, here comes hesitation is weakness, interject your turn right away, take out that enemy before they ever get their initiative. Now, not only have you had 2 back-to-back hero turns, you've taken out an enemy turn before it ever got to go off. So that's hugely powerful for the swing of the flow of combat. And I love this ability. I think it's just so fun and so cool. Every time you use it, you feel like a genius.
And that is our basic shadow to get you started with your combats and draw steel. We hope you give it a try soon.
I will actually just really quickly say the one thing to like make it a little easier to finish building out your character. There are two types of culture. There are ancestral cultures and professional cultures. Professional cultures are what D&D would consider a background. So like sailor, guild member, outlander, those sorts of things would be here in the professional cultures. Then the ancestral cultures are more basically like based on the lore of the world of Orden. I would personally say for most new players, just stick to professional cultures. Those kind of broad archetypes are going to make it really easy to make your pick. The ancestral cultures, you're going to have to kind of know what the ancestral cultures mean, and that's going to change setting by setting, and it's going to change game by game. I think it's much easier to just stick on like, I kind of know what a pirate crew is. I can just, if I want a pirate crew type character, I will pick pirate crew. I kind of know what a monastic order is. If I want a monastic order type character, I pick that. And I think that'll make it a little easier. And then for career, the thing I would say is it determines your starting perk, which is basically a feat. And so you want to pick basically the career that leans in the direction that you kind of want to flavor your character out of combat. So if you want exploration perks, you probably want explorer as your career. If you want magic perks, you probably want sage. Picking the background that is leaning in the direction that you want to have options out of combat, I think is the main way to guide you through your career choice. So not to get too deep in the weeds on those, but I did want to just give you some general guidance about ways to make it a little easier to pick, your career and your culture. Because again, you do get a lot of options, so it can be a little overwhelming at first, but I think it's actually not that difficult once you have a little bit of a baseline understanding. So yeah.
As a quick tip, I will say criminal is almost always my go-to because the intrigue perk that it gives you, at least one of the options, the first one, is the yield classic of almost every tabletop RPG. I know a guy. They call it criminal contacts here, but it's a fun way to, whenever you need to get a piece of information or, get a lead on a particular item or MacGuffin you're looking for, there's always the I know a guy feature you can lean on.
I feel like if I was a player, I would be hard pressed to ever not pick the arcane perks, just because the first level spells that you get out of them, thing speaker, the familiar spell, all these little things are just like so tantalizing for me. I just want to be a little magical guy. So yeah, I think that this game is deceptively simple. It looks really overwhelming. It looks really complicated at first, but as you get into it, it actually turns out that it's really not that complicated. It's not that overwhelming. And I think that Ayer's intention of creating the battle master, the champion fighter, I guess you could say, of Draw Steel, it works on a lot of levels here, because not only is it pretty straightforward with all the abilities, but the heroic resource is also really straightforward. And the triggers are also really straightforward. So everything just works in a way that is going to get you in and playing a lot quicker.
We need a bookend before.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank
Do a
you all
bookend,
for
Jay.
joining us for another wonderful episode. Thank you, Ayer, for guiding us on this character building session. And thank you all for tuning in. We had a really nice response to our last video, so it was very well appreciated. So thank everybody who left a comment.
YouTube decided we were relevant and threw us on some people's homepage, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you, algorithm, for blessing us this day.
Okay, and with that, goodbye!
Bye-bye.